Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling Ayn Rand.
And her philosophy, Objectivism. It's definitely influential.
Yeah, and often pretty debated, too. We've looked at her writings, some analyses.
And the goal is really to unpack the core ideas, understand what it's all about.
Okay, so Ayn Rand, Russian-American writer, philosopher, lived 1905 to 82.
Right. And created Objectivism. Most people know her from the novels The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged.
Which is where she first kind of laid out these ideas through her characters, right?
Exactly. Very heroic characters embodying her philosophy.
And her background. Growing up in Russia during the revolution seems crucial.
Oh, absolutely. Witnessing the communist takeover, her father's pharmacy being nationalized.
That experience must have really fueled her focus on the individual.
Definitely. And her deep suspicion of, any form of collectivism.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the name Objectivism, where does that come from?
It stems from the core belief that human knowledge and values are objective.
Meaning they exist out there in reality, and we discover them.
Precisely. Not something we just invent in our heads. Apparently, she first liked existentialism, but that name was already taken.
Huh. Oh. So can we get like a quick summary? The main pillars?
Yeah, you can think of it in four main parts, really. They're all connected.
Okay.
First, metaphysics, objective reality. Basically, reality is what it is. Wishing doesn't make it so.
Got it. What's next?
Epistemology. Reason. That's our tool for understanding reality. You can't just, make stuff up.
Right. Reason.
Ethics. Self-interest. The idea that each person is an end in themselves. Your life is your own.
Okay. Self-interest. And the last one?
Politics. Capitalism.
Yeah.
Specifically, laissez-faire capitalism, which she saw as the only system protecting individual rights. Think, give me liberty or give me death.
So those four, reality, reason, self-interest, capitalism, form the system. Let's dig into objective reality first.
Okay. The fundamental starting point is existence exists. A is A.
Reality is real. Seems straightforward.
It is, but the implications are big. It means facts are facts, independent of anyone's feelings or consciousness. Consciousness perceives reality. It doesn't create it.
So the universe exists whether we're here to think about it or not.
Exactly. Existence has primacy over consciousness. Our minds have to conform to reality, not the other way around.
Which means knowledge comes from looking outward, extrospection.
Yes. And this view inherently rejects anything supernatural, any concept of God. Reality is absolute, mind-independent.
Things are what they are.
Right. And she distinguished between the metaphysically given stuff we can't change, like the laws of physics, and the man-made things we can rearrange.
Okay, that makes sense. So if reality is objective, how do we know it? That brings us to reason.
Precisely. For Rand, reason is our only means of getting knowledge, guiding our actions, even surviving.
So you have to choose to think, to face facts.
Absolutely. Reason is the faculty that takes what our senses perceive and integrates it, identifies it.
We start with our senses then. Direct contact with reality.
Yes. Objective knowledge comes from perception, which then gets organized through concept formation and logic. Inductive logic, specifically.
And concepts are how we group things.
Right. Mental integrations. We see lots of chairs. We form the concept chair by focusing on the shared characteristics, what makes it a chair, while leaving out specific measurements like color or exact height.
So concepts help us organize the flood of sensory data.
Exactly. And being objective in our thinking means consciously sticking to reality, following logical rules based on facts.
And contradictions are out.
A big no-no. It violates the law of identity. A is A. Something can't be both A and not A. Refusing to think, to identify reality, she called that blanking out, was a basic vice for her.
Okay. Reality is real. Reason is how we grasp it. Now, ethics. Rational self-interest. This sounds potentially tricky.
It's probably one of the most misunderstood parts. The core is the individual is an end in themselves.
Your life is your own highest value.
Yes. You exist for your own sake. You shouldn't sacrifice yourself for others, nor sacrifice others for yourself. It's rooted in what it means to be human and live successfully.
And the highest moral purpose is pursuing your own happiness.
That's the idea. But happiness here isn't just like fleeting pleasure. It's deeper. It's the state you achieve by reaching your rational values. Self-esteem, pride in achievement.
So it's rational self-interest. How is that different from just being selfish or exploitative?
Big difference. It's about realizing your potential, pursuing logical goals, and crucially, respecting the rights of others to do the same. Harming others isn't rational or in your true long-term self-interest.
It requires integrity then, honesty.
Absolutely. Rationality is the primary virtue, leading to others like honesty, independence, integrity, productivity, pride, justice. And this is why Rand rejected altruism.
The idea that we should live for others.
Yes. She saw that as fundamentally destructive based on self-sacrifice, which she considered evil. But she wasn't against kindness or goodwill, just the moral obligation to sacrifice.
Got it. So this focus on the individual and their rights naturally leads to her politics.
Directly. To laissez-faire capitalism, individual rights are paramount, especially property rights.
Rights aren't gifts from government?
No, she saw them as conditions required by our nature for survival. The right to use your mind, act on your judgment, work for your values, keep what you produce.
And capitalism is the system that protects these.
Laissez-faire capitalism, yes, because it's based on voluntary exchange, not force. Initiating force against someone is immoral.
So the government's role is extremely limited.
Extremely. Just protecting rights. Life, liberty, property. Like a policeman stopping the initiation of force, a complete separation of state and economy.
People interact as traders, freely exchanging value for value.
That's the ideal. No one gets things by force. Money is just a tool for this voluntary production and exchange.
Okay, that covers the main political economic side. What about aesthetics? How does art fit in?
Art, for Rand, was a way to make abstract values concrete. It's a selective recreation of reality based on an artist's deepest view of existence and humanity.
Like bringing philosophy to life.
Sort of, yes.
Yeah.
It takes broad metaphysical ideas and lets us experience them on a perceptual level, an embodied abstraction.
Why is that important?
She thought it fulfilled a deep human need. It helps us grasp our fundamental view of life, contributing to our psychological well-being, gives you that sense of life.
And her own style in her novels.
She called it romantic realism, presenting the world as it could be and should be.
Idealized characters.
Heroic, individualistic protagonists, definitely. And villains often represented the collectivist ideas she opposed. Plot was vital, intricate, driving, reinforcing the philosophy.
Right. So wrapping up the core tenets: objective reality, reason, rational self-interest, laissez-faire capitalism, and art as concretizing values. It's a whole system.
A very integrated system. And as you said, often controversial. Academic philosophy for a long time mostly dismissed it or ignored it.
Why was that?
Criticisms often mention a polemical style, maybe a lack of traditional philosophical rigor in some arguments, a rejection of altruism that many find jarring. Some see it as related to social Darwinism, others dislike the sometimes dogmatic feel of the movement.
But there's been some shift.
Yeah, especially after her death, there's been more academic work, some defending her against misinterpretations. A lot of it stems from her fundamental opposition to philosophers like Kant.
And its influence today.
Still significant, particularly among libertarians, though she actually disliked the libertarian movement and some conservatives in the U.S. Her novels, especially Atlas Shrugged, remain incredibly popular and influential. The Objectivist movement actively promotes her ideas.
Okay, so a final thought for you listening. Rand puts huge emphasis on individual responsibility, on the power of your own reason. Maybe think about how focusing on those aspects, even if you don't buy the whole system, might change how you approach problems or make decisions day to day.
Yeah, and consider where your own beliefs line up, or maybe where they really differ from objectivism. It definitely makes you think about your own foundations.
Absolutely. Definitely food for thought. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.